Hey guys, and welcome to Crazy Days. Today I'm just enjoying my swing, sitting out here, and I wanted to show you my new little headscarf. Miss Kathy sent it to me. Thank you, Kathy. It's one of the stretchy kind. These things are really nice, really popular right now, and this one will go with anything because it's got all the different colors in it. And so while we're enjoying kind of a a warm day. It's not been hot. We've been planting garlic and onions and using a house tool, and we've just been doing all kinds of things today. We've even been to town. Some Etsy orders going out, but today I wanted to talk about some little fun facts or something like that from the Depression. Danny and I were doing a lot of studying about that era. And come to find out, it's not really what we thought. Yes, there was a lot of things going on. A lot of people did not have food. There was people standing in line, all that kind of stuff. But there was a lot of things that went on that we didn't realize. Did you know that about, a record number of people went to the movies every week? It just started escalating because they didn't have the money to do a whole lot. They could save up a little bit and they'd go to the movies. And King Kong, Gone with the Wind, and The Wizard of Oz were three of the most favorite movies at that period. And y'all, Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite movies. I just loved that, and I loved Gone with the Wind. During that time, about 750,000 farms were lost through bankruptcy or either sheriff's sales. And if people couldn't pay their bills, it just had to, they had to sell it. And yes, there was a lot going on, but 40% of the country never even knew there was a depression. They knew things were going on, but they lived the way they lived. A lot of times people were just, if you had a farm, you still farmed. The massive farms, the big farms, were the ones that were going out of business because they were told not to produce a lot of food. One of the things was the food changes. This was kind of the strange thing for me. People started selling apples on the street in order to make a little change to buy more food or whatever. But in the theaters, like we said, people were going to the movies. They started selling popcorn. That was a cheap, easy way. Popcorn was cheap, and they could sell it for a little bit of nothing, and people got to eat something while they were in the theater. But the strangest thing was, I thought, everybody's eating rabbit and deer and whatever they had to skimp and save, but no. Hot dogs and hamburgers and fast food and drive-ins all kicked in at that time. And I'm thinking, well, if they don't have the money to buy food, how do they have the money to buy a hamburger at the drive-in? Just my thoughts anyway. But come to find out, there was a surplus of meats, there was a surplus of vegetables, and so they had started canning meats and vegetables in tin cans. And during that time, it was cheaper for people to go buy a can of Spam, which was very popular during that time, a can of potted meat, the little Vienna sausage we call them now, but back then they were about this big around. They were huge when I was a kid even. And hot dogs. Hot dogs was a biggie. And if there were hot dogs, there had to be already hot dog buns, loaf bread, things like that. So that kind of stuff was being pushed by big name companies to make cheap meals. And you had your poor man's meal, which was hot dogs and onions and I think maybe gravy poured over a biscuit or a piece of bread. Something like that. There was a lot of those type meals with hot dogs or Vienna sausage or Spam. Your casseroles people were given recipes to do this kind of thing. And so they started buying their meat in those cans. And then the vegetables. Most all of them called for adding some type of vegetables, and it said a can of this, a can of that. So people were going to town and buying a can of green beans or a can of English peas or a can of corn. And They quit growing. They didn't grow what they had. So that was kind of a weird something. I thought, I thought they were eating weird, stuff, wild stuff, but obviously not. Spam had a shelf life of about 7 years. So if you bought a bunch of cans of Spam, you had meat for a while. Macaroni and cheese, meatloaves, casseroles, all that became very popular. Hence, Kraft macaroni and cheese came into play. You ever heard of Ritz crackers? They were very popular back then. And they even had what they called a mock apple pie recipe. I'm going to try and find that and see if I can make it with Ritz crackers. I mean, it kind of, with the salty cracker, I'm not sure, but they said it was good and everybody was making it. Betty Crocker came on the scene in 1921. She was a picture, her pictures changed throughout the years, but the first one was a very unsmiling housewife. She was very just bland and, and then over the years, she gradually started smiling. And it was kind of weird because I saw all the transformations of Betty Crocker and it was really strange. She went very unsmiling to smiling over the years. And then the refrigerator. They had ice boxes, but you had to buy ice or dry ice somehow to keep it cold. Frigidaire came into play. Guess what? New ice box. They didn't cost as much. They weren't as noisy. The first ones were really, I guess the first ones were really noisy, but after Frigidaire kind of condensed it down to where it wasn't that noisy and it wasn't that expensive, people started buying the newer refrigerators. And guess what? Twinkies. Yeah, Twinkies. They were invented around that time. They put Twinkies into the millennial time capsule. I thought this was a really cool fact that Twinkies went into the millennial time capsule. And they think they'll still be edible when it's opened. And I forgot the year. It's like, it's 2039 or it's way on, whenever. But they're saying that when it gets time to open the time capsule, the Twinkies should still be good. So I just thought I'd give you guys a little fun facts. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you from Crazy Days.